Hi all, and welcome to part 2 of my response to Stefan Molyneux' Why I Was Wrong About Atheism. We last left our intrepid YouTubers as they talked about the attempted redefinition of the word religion, and how liberals run to the state for everything. Instead of repeating myself, I'll leave a link in the description box to both Stefan's original video and part 1 of my response so you can check them out if you want to. Plus you can make sure I didn't take anything out of context. Also, I do cut some parts out in this video because I feel I answered those bits either in the body of part 1 or later in this video. With that out of the way, let's just jump into part 2.
And atheists in general, when they perceive a social problem, they just run to the government. And then atheists have the nerve to say to Christians, well, you just have this magical thing called God, which is supposed to solve all of these problems, like where the universe came from and how we evolved and so on. How ridiculous of you. I mean, that's not an answer to anything.
It isn't, unless they have evidence for their position. I don't think atheists need to be stuck up about it, but challenging those claims is a worthy endeavor in my opinion, because the dogma that often comes packaged with that God belief can often be harmful. It can lead to the stoning of gays while people look on with glee, or to the erosion of education when they try to teach their creationist myths as fact in classrooms across the country.
Well, at least it's a peaceful answer to something. At least it's a non-blanket, geographically enveloping, coercive answer to something.
Non-coercive? Religious dogma is often associated with blasphemy and apostasy laws that can have you jailed or killed by the state. Like this example. Last December, for instance, authorities in Sudan charged 25 men for apostasy, the act of abandoning one's faith, including by converting to another religion. The men faced the death penalty for following a different interpretation of Islam than the one sanctioned by the government. And in Pakistan, police are currently pursuing a Christian accused of sending an alleged blasphemous poem to a friend. Blasphemy, defined as speech or actions considered to be contemptuous of God or the divine, is a capital crime in Pakistan. Does that sound non-violent and non-coercive to you? And yet when people dare to criticize the abhorrent ideas within Islam, they are told they are Islamophobic and racist.
Do I particularly care that a Christian says that God created the universe? Yeah. It's not a big list on my priorities come tax time.
There's more to life than your personal taxes, including pursuing the truth as well as science and education, which are regularly challenged by religious institutions who believe their religions come before evidence.
But when atheists want the state to magically use guns to solve every problem in the known universe, that is a much more dangerous addiction to irrational authority than anything the Christian can come up with. The Christian can threaten people with hell, but if you don't believe in the religion, you don't go to hell. And if you do, I don't think you go to hell anyway.
Who are these atheists that want the state to use guns on other people? I mean, you can't just throw claims like that out there without backing it up with some evidence. Furthermore, statistics don't seem to back up your statements. I couldn't find a breakdown by religious demographic in regards to gun ownership, but in the previous video you claimed, and rightly so, that atheists tend to lean left and vote Democrat. According to Pew, Democrats are less likely to own guns. Republicans are more than twice as likely to own a gun, which is hardly what you'd expect of people who want to use gun violence as an answer to everything. I realize that you were talking about the state using violence on their behalf, but without evidence I really can't take this claim very seriously. And why would you dismiss teaching small children that they will go to a place of everlasting burning and suffering if they don't do as they're told? It's something not to be concerned about. It's absolutely something that needs to be challenged in the marketplace of ideas, no matter what religion happens to be teaching it.
But the leftists, the socialists, the Democrats, the liberals, well, they threaten you with jail if you don't obey the very visceral and immediate Old Testament commandments of Big Daddy government, their Zeus of blood-drenched state power. Well, that's a little bit more immediate to me. And if atheism was not associated with an addiction to the state and its power, I would have much more sympathy for it because it would be a little less in my face, in my wallet, and shiv pressed up to my side.
Again, you're just making generalities without using specific examples or statistics of any kind. No matter who is in power, they will enforce the laws of the land. That goes for liberals or conservatives. You've also failed to provide any evidence for your assertion that atheism means addiction to the state, or even that it generally results in people being addicted to the state. Hell, you haven't even really defined what it means to be addicted to the state. Stefan acts as if atheists are a powerhouse in terms of political power, when the truth of the matter is that these atheists make up 3% of the overall population. The last time I looked, half of American adults said they would be less likely to vote for a presidential candidate who does not believe in God. It's not very likely that atheists have enough political power to have a shiv pressed up to your side.
People say, the church did some bad things, and, they'll talk about the Inquisition and so on. Couple of thousand deaths.
Meh, what's a few thousand corpses between friends, right?
The state, my friends. The secular, gun-addled, drunk with power state in the 20th century alone, outside of war, slaughtered 250 million people. 250 million people killed by the state.
I'm going to assume your statistics are correct, although I'd love to see a breakdown of the numbers, but that's why we have to be able to challenge and criticize bad ideas, whether those ideas be political or religious in nature. In many cases, the two are entwined. By that I mean politics and religion.
Oh, but you see, a few hundred years ago, they burned some witches, so ha, ha, ha. Come on, let's pile the bodies. You can't even see one. The other one you can probably see from Mars. The pile of dead left by the state.
Witch hunting and burning are still taking place today. Here's a small sampling of news stories covering it.
Now, the other thing that bothers me is not just the fact that when you take away God from most people, they run to the far more brutal and irrational authority of the state. It's not just that. It is the fact that atheism tends to two things: towards state power and towards sterility. And this is a very, very important point.
Oh no, you're about to start dictating how many children we have to raise, aren't you? All right then, go ahead.
America's most fertile faith. So this is completed fertility. This is the average number of children ever born to adults, ages 40 to 59. Mormons, 3.4. Hey, that's why there were so many oddsmans. Black Protestants, 2.5 kids per family. Evangelical Protestants, 2.3. Catholics, 2.3. Jews, 2.0. Mainline Protestants, 1.9. See any atheists? They're just coming around the corner. Atheists, 1.6. Way. You need like 2.1 for even just maintaining a steady population. Below that, it's demographic wintertime. It's the inverted pyramid where the vampiric old are feasting on the diminishing taxes of the young and society collapses. So if you like society, if you like a civilization, especially if you're on the left, it might behoove you to have a little unprotected sex and raise some kids.
I don't know why atheists have less kids than their religious counterparts. I could hazard a few guesses, such as religion often promotes reproduction, the community aspect that brings people together and fosters a community of like-minded people who can more easily find mates that share their values and beliefs, but I have no hard facts to prove this. But that aside, I don't think we should have kids just so we can perpetuate our state. There's really no need, since people who want kids will reproduce regardless of their religious affiliation, and we can use healthy immigration policies to bring new people in. Second, birth rates in developed countries have been dropping steadily, and I hardly think that can be laid at the feet of atheists, or atheists in general. There are a host of factors that might contribute to this phenomenon, such as women having children later in life, which would impact their decisions to have more children, and the rising cost of childcare as well as cost of living.
So atheists 1.6, agnostics, I don't really believe in a vagina, 1.3, children. So that's not good. Look, have kids, don't have kids, fine. I mean, it's not like you've got to.
Right. Then why are you bringing it up? You seem very concerned about how many children different demographics are having, so it seems weird that you're now saying, meh, it doesn't matter.
I think most people who are alive are happy to be alive, which is why they're still breathing. So the fact that your parents decided to have kids, not a bad thing for you. How about you pay it forward a little? No!
Sure, I'm alive thanks to my parents, but if they hadn't had me, it would make me feel worse. Actually, I'd feel nothing and not be aware of any missed opportunity. However, having been born, that doesn't mean I owe anything to anyone else. My being born doesn't mean I owe society kids.
I'm too busy railing against the 10 Commandments showing up in a government building somewhere. So, but here's the thing. If you are sterile, if you don't have children, and you're on the left, or let's say you only have one kid, and you're on the left, you are a complete and total vampiric douchebag.
Why? Wouldn't they presumably be paying into the system their entire lives?
And here's the reason why. If you're on the left, then it requires a constant flow of new taxes in order to pay for the policies that you want. You want welfare, you want health care for the poor, you want pensions for the old, you want all of these wonderful things. All of that requires new taxpayers. So if you're on the left and you want all of this money for the government, but you're not making any new future taxpayers, you are a horrible, vampiric, god-awful human being. Like some vampiric whisker-based walrus constantly, are there any young people around? Hey, Daddy needs some blood. I need some blood for my moral posturing. Where are the young?
Okay, that vampire thing was pretty funny. Neither atheists or religious people who believe in social programs owe the state children, and wanting to build a system that somewhat protects the citizens least able to protect themselves doesn't make them horrible vampires either.
So there's a kind of nihilism about atheism in which the atheists, I don't know if they say, well, this is my only life, I don't have any particular values to pass to my kids. They just don't have that many kids.
Why would atheists have no values to pass on to their children? You're starting to sound strangely like a religious fundamentalist.
Yet they want lots of fresh blood for the vampiric state, the old, the sick, the poor, the elderly, to feed on. Well, if you want to harvest, you gotta plant. And if you want the state to redistribute a lot of income and you're not having kids, you're just feeding on everyone else's desire to have children.
Stefan seems angry here that people want to help those who are sick and needy, as if that's a bad thing.
But the thing that troubles me about atheism is the degree to which I suspect it is not due to intellectual integrity.
What's it due to then?
But rather, don't tell me what to do. I don't like to surrender myself to anything bigger than myself. I don't like to be part of a bigger chain of being. I don't like to have responsibilities. I don't like to get up early on Sunday. Commandments. Pfft.
Well, I don't like getting up on Sunday, but that's hardly why I'm an atheist. However, Stefan says that atheists don't want to surrender to something bigger than themselves. It is also saying that they are addicted to the government. Which one is it? At least stay consistent. The government would be bigger than the individual.
Maybe I will take some suggestion boxes, but I don't do commandments. What am I, some sort of puppet of the Ecclesiastes? I really think that it is a rejection of subjugation to higher standards, to higher ethics, to something bigger, larger, and more continuous than yourself that drives a lot of atheists.
The commandments are ridiculous, and several of them would be considered unconstitutional in America. They also call for a lot of stoning and killing for breaking them. I'm going to stick with not supporting them. Go ahead and call me a stickler for not wanting to be ordered about by religious authorities. I have big shoulders and I can take it. Of course I don't want to be subjugated by religious laws, and I hardly think Christianity, and they're not alone, can be called higher ethical standards.
Atheist communities generally dissolve into leftist social justice warrior infighting and collapse. Doesn't really happen so much in Christianity.
Actually, it might. Like I pointed out before, America is more than 80% Christian, yet you honestly don't think that a substantial number of Christians might not be on the far left of the political spectrum, or that they might promote social justice. If you're concerned about, quote, social justice warriors, and think Christianity is going to stand in its way, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. Anyhow, that concludes my response to Stefan, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching. Take care and cheers.